pick one thing and solve it. I think me and you, I told you this morning, it's like we have so many avenues we can go.
Yep.
And like saying this humbly, it's not a coggy thing. Like I'll be good at whatever I do. Like I'll figure it out. Like if I wanted to produce this podcast, I'd be pretty good at it, but it'd be taking a lot longer for me to get there.
Right.
So I know I got to hire people who are great at what they do and stay in my lane as opposed to trying to do all this stuff, which is what I did my whole 30s. Right. And so that was what really struck me of like, figure out what the problem is and then like immediately solve it. To me, that's also tying into the 1% rule. It's just like, that's 1% better. So you have to surrender to the 1% better process, not try to be 100% or even 5% better because it's overwhelming then. What's up, guys? This is the Seed Time and Harvest Podcast, episode 21. We're talking about 1% better with the man, the myth, the legend, Alex Chapman. I'm your guy, Nate Force, and we're just rocking and rolling. Can't
What's
believe
up?
it's 21 episodes, dude.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's
fun,
crazy.
man.
And it is fun. This is it wasn't, I wouldn't have called it fun when we first started. It's getting more and more fun. It was because it was so awkward.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was for you, but it was for me. And because it was,
I didn't sense that at all.
well, I think we had talked about this once before, but like the authenticity of something like this in this form with cameras, and you watch podcasts, the Rogans and all the people, the Ed Milet's and all the interviews and all that, and everyone has like these profound things that they say and these huge guests, and you're you know, they all give like these great life advices, and so it's just there was like this weird like comparison that I had in my mind when we started, but then when I'm like, let's just keep going and talking.
It's funny.
It's just become really fun.
Now that you say that, I feel like you were trying a little bit.
Yeah.
In the first few. And
Yeah.
like once you started letting go, and particularly started talking about your faith and God and that journey, I feel like that opened up, you know, just an ease for you too.
That's a hard thing to talk about. I mean, and specifically for me, not as much for you at all. I think and I got a lot of that from you, so I thank you for that.
It was very hard for me to talk about as well.
Really?
Like, yeah. No. So I echo that a lot. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. I mean, I was just going to ask you, like, when did you start openly talking about God?
It's funny you said because I don't feel like I do.
I think you do.
Really?
Yeah. Or maybe
we talk more.
Maybe
than,
you talk openly talk to me about it. We with a men's group, and
I never want to like turn anyone off or have anyone feel like I'm judging them in any way. I know God is real from the evidence in my life, from the times I should have died, literally, of the times where, you know, I was doing stuff I shouldn't have done, and like being high and drunk in a club and hearing a voice tell me you shouldn't be here. You're better than this.
I'm gonna look at this book really quick. Keep going.
Yeah, I grew up in an environment where religion was beat over your head.
Me too.
It was a lot
Catholicism.
of guilt. Well,
were you raised Catholic?
Baptist.
So
very
same.
similar.
Yeah.
Very similar but different. And it was, if you're not reading your Bible and you're not doing this, it's a lot of guilt and a lot of God's mad at you. And if you don't do this, you're going to hell. Mm-hmm. And I just always, like, as a kid, I was like, well, what's the purpose of life then?
Constant guilt.
Yeah. If I'm just going to exist here to escape to a better place, then like, why am I here? You know? Where I really think the point of life now is that God created us to be his kids because he enjoyed being around us. He wants a relationship with us. You think about the story of Adam and Eve. He was in the garden and he just walked with them every day. He wanted communion with us. Mm-hmm. But he gave us free will because if he didn't give us free will, love doesn't mean anything. Mm-hmm. Love only means something because you have a choice. I heard someone say once, you're only able to love to the level you're willing to be hurt. Like,
oof.
Haley could hurt you really bad.
Right.
But also you can't experience love until you open yourself up to both sides of it. There's a duality to the universe, right?
Oh my God, it's so true. Because, and as men, as like, I don't want to call myself an alpha male, but more of like I've had a lot of alpha.
You're totally beta, bro. I'm just playing.
You know, but like, I definitely like put like a steel plate over my heart forever. Because I had been hurt when I was young. I'm talking like little boy. I went through this weird thing and I was like, I'm never going to feel that again. And it was kind of this like, you know, the Jay-Z line, like, me give my heart to a woman, not for nothing, never happen, I'll be forever macking, right? Like, that was like, I like lived by that. Like, that was, and it was a horrible creed to live
Pimp
by.
by blood, not relation.
That was like something, and as I look back on that, like, I closed off.
Yeah.
Like, I know it sounds funny, but like, I'm serious. Like, the reason why I was able to just say that like that is because I was like, I mean, I wanted that like tattooed on my body. That's how over my heart. Like, I'm never going to give this away, because then you're opening yourself up to just be devastated.
Well, as soon as you say, I'll never let someone hurt me again, well, you're never going to love either.
No.
So,
And I feel bad for basically everyone that I had ever met, any woman I had ever met leading it, like, down this road, my ex-wife, like, everyone, because they never got the full me.
Yeah.
And I'm going through this whole thing in today's title, you know, be 1% better. A lot of it is the journey that I'm on right now with my faith, because and I'm listening to this book, and Caitlin Kinney, shout out to Caitlin Kinney, she's amazing. She referred this book to me. It's called The Road Back to You by Ian Morgan. And basically and I just started, so I can't give all this knowledge with it, but like, something very profound was said in the beginning of the book, where there's no relationship with God if you can't figure out who you are. So your journey, like, the fastest way to start your relationship with God is to conquer yourself. What are your demons? What are your flaws? What's going on? Like, and the comparison, right? Like, I want this, and this, and this, and some things you can never have. Some things are just God given. So you'll never have an accent. You'll never do this. Or you'll never, like, things that this like image of yourself that you really wanted, you can't have some of that. Or you're not a mathematician, or you're not a whatever. You're not an actor. You're not a singer.
Yeah.
Right? All these dreams you have in your head. And so then you get further and further away from it, because you're not this person that you wanted to be, or that you wanted to become. And here we are now, 40 years old, 41. You just turned 41. Happy birthday, belated birthday. And like, you're in this constant state of trying to find yourself, when really you're just trying to figure out what your flaws and your weaknesses are, and get 1% better every single day, and start chasing that journey of, oh man, I can't do this anymore. I can't do that anymore. And it's like, when God created us, and it says, like, the path through God is through you, which I've always thought, before I even started trying to really figure this part of my life out, I always thought, well, everyone is godlike. Everyone has the power to live like this. We just don't. We smoke, we drink, we sleep around, we do drugs, we lie, we do all the stuff that's like, no, just be a good person, do what's right. And it's so hard, because you have every choice every day. And we've talked about compounding good choices. So it's just, you have to give yourself the grace of just getting a little bit better every single day. And it's a forever journey.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, when you die, that's when they say that's when you know, because you've taken this journey. And I forget who said it. I was on a podcast, one of the most amazing things I've ever heard. And they said, what would you say to Jesus or to God if you were to die today? And he said, how did I do? How did I do?
Yeah.
And if you were to die today, and if I were to die today, I'd be like, I would be disappointed. I'd be like, oh, I didn't quite achieve this in like enlightened state.
Yeah.
I was on the path to it, but maybe that was all you needed, right? So you're just constantly at war with yourself of trying to do it. But then if you can just kind of put it away and chase just a little bit more, just be 1% better. Got up a little earlier today, made sure I told her I loved her and appreciated her, made sure I hugged my kid, like little things that you're just like, I know this person needs to hear this. I'm going to hold this door. Little acts of kindness and faith, and they compound, man. I mean, it's just been the whole 1% better metaphor, right? So Mikey, we were talking about B1.
Yeah.
And B1 has been such an interesting name to a brand, because it was initially started of like, be whatever you want to be. Let's help you be one of those. So if you came to me back in the day when we started and said, dude, I just want to be a better dad. Dude, let's be one of those. I want to be an investor. Yep, you should be one, be one, be one. So then all of a sudden we were at this table and everyone wanted to be something different, and it wasn't really in sync. There was no like this like universal like road that we were all going down.
Yeah.
Right? It was kind of everyone wanting to be something else, which is fine. That's what we all are. But like there was no vision, no message. And Mikey and I were sitting in the sauna, and he just looked at me and he was like, dude, just be 1% better. Be 1% better. And it really, he's like, I can get behind that. I said, me too. Because that is really the ultimate goal in life, is not like we all want more.
Sure.
We all want more, but it is so hard. It is so hard. I mean, think of the things you and I dream about all the time, and the real dreams, right? The development and the lifestyle brand, and and the charities and the trafficking stuff that we want to get behind and support, and mission-minded business. And it's like, there's too much, right? And so it's like, let's just focus on getting 1% better every day, being honest with each other, others, So it's cool, man. I mean, I'm definitely in a different place. Yeah. And this has helped a lot.
Yeah. Same.
Just this, the podcast, being around you. And that's why I told you this morning, like, hey man, let's just figure out a way to work together for as long as humanly possible. Forever is is good enough word for me. Let's just figure it out.
Yeah.
Right? Like no ego, no bullshit. And a lot of men in business and women in business, I don't think can remove that ego. They always want to be the man. They always want to be the CEO. They always want to be the president. They always want to be, and I've had to learn a lot with this journey being like, the co-founder of B1. And as we started to change, I was no longer the guy that did this. And it wasn't because I couldn't. It's because I just wasn't good at it. So I had to be like, oh yeah, maybe he should do this. And then, no, I think Mikey should be the president, and this is why. And I think you should be the CFO, and this is why. And there's really no title for me, like general manager. Okay. And I just took the humble seat. Like I'll be the GM, but I'm not really the GM either. And so we kind of came up with like, what am I really? And it's like, chief people officer. I just deal with people.
You're the glue.
I just deal with the people all day, And then you sent me, and I want to talk about this and ask you. I really want to ask you this. I've been thinking about this ever since you sent it to me, and I wanted to do it on this platform. You sent me the video with Elon, right? And I don't know who was that guy, the guy that was like his executive assistant or something.
I don't know his exact title. He's worked with him for
years,
20 years or something like that. Yeah.
Well, imagine the level he's on. If that's he's like his right hand. And so he sees him on his day-to-day operations. He sent me this video. It's on Instagram about Elon's approach to business. Can you touch on this a little bit about what this is? I think it'll resonate for a lot of people of just like his. Yeah.
I mean, the thing that really struck me.
The video. Yeah.
Was what he said was, most people come into a company and they have a meeting and, hey, what are the things on the table? And let's sit another meeting to figure out how to deal with this. And nothing ever really gets accomplished. But what Elon does is he comes into each of his companies, he touches them first off once a week, and he goes in and he figures out what's the biggest problem they're having. I don't know how he does it. I would love to know that process. And then he solves it. He puts people in place or does something to move the needle forward. And this is how all these companies are moving. And that was the thing that really struck me about it, of like, pick one thing and solve it. I think me and you, I told you this morning, it's like, we have so many avenues we can go.
Yep.
And like saying this humbly, it's not a coggy thing. Like I'll be good at whatever I do. Like I'll figure it out. Like if I wanted to produce this podcast, I'd be pretty good at it, but it'd be taking a lot longer for me to get there.
Right.
So I know I got to hire people who are great at what they do and stay in my lane as opposed to trying to do all this stuff, which is what I did my whole 30s. Right. And so that was what really struck me, of like, figure out what the problem is and then like immediately solve it. To me, that's also tying into the 1% rule. It's just like, that's 1% better. So you have to surrender to the 1% better process, not try to be 100% or even 5% better, because it's overwhelming then.
Right.
But it's just like, just show up. And I was like, okay, what do we need to do to solve this? And it made me think about our meetings in B1 of like,
okay,
a lot of it's
we're
like,
on the same page.
Yeah. A lot of it's like, okay, we'll talk about this next week. Well, like, what are we doing?
Kick the can down the road.
Yeah.
What action are we walking away from? None.
Yeah.
Sit in there for an hour and you're like, okay, but we had great context.
Yep.
Great banter, great conversation. maybe a disagreement here. Or I'd agree, and then meeting's
All
adjourned.
right, see you next week.
Meeting's adjourned.
Yeah.
You go back to hustling. I go back to handling people, and then we didn't really solve anything, right? Like we
Yeah.
didn't, and so that's when you sent that to me. At first, I was like, "Are you trying to give me a subliminal messages?" Because now you've been a part of like the inner workings, like lifted up the hood of like, this is B1. Here's our meetings. Here's our meeting flow. Here's the process. Been coaches' corners. Done all the stuff. And your skill level, you're talented enough to like, okay, I did everything once. Here's my assessment of this. And so when I got that video, in my head, I was like, oh, I hear you loud and clear. That's how I took it. And I don't think that was your intention.
It was just like, this is a cool thought process. But I went immediately to our meetings of like, well, let's create a committee to solve this. Why don't we just do it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we've been talking about doing a client appreciation event for literally
dude.
months now.
We could have sat in there.
I could have just been like, I'll make the call right now. Like,
You're
let's
right.
just do it.
Yep.
Now, that being said, like, me and you are like, jump off a cliff and build the plane on the way down.
Yep.
I think there's wisdom to building the plane and then jumping off the cliff too.
Yeah.
You know?
A little bit.
So
take
like
your time.
having that, like, I know I need to be around people who are methodical, who are the analytical mindsets. They drive me crazy because I just want to go.
Me too.
But I would build a house and be like, oh shoot, I forgot to install the foundation.
yeah.
You know,
Boom,
yep.
collapses.
It looks great, but
whole family passed away because Alex and Nate forgot to put fucking cement blocks on the basement.
we forgot to put the nuts on the foundation anchors, you know? But no,
Yeah.
I wasn't sending you a message at all. It was more so like, oh man, I know you think a lot the way I think. And it's like, how do we balance that without being the CEO in quotes that just steamrolls everyone and says, no, we're doing it my way.
Which doesn't work.
Which
The
pisses
dictatorship.
people off.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't help anybody. So like, it was more so like the balance of like, how do we move the ball forward or create a policy of like, hey, we're not going to leave. Like, one rule of thumb I have is never leave a meeting without setting another meeting. So when I meet a client, okay, here's the next meeting we got set up. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to set up your collection. I'm going to connect you with our lending team. There's always the next steps. I think that's a good policy to have as I'm talking through it right now of like, hey, what's set? What's on the calendar for solving this issue?
Yeah, and I know it wasn't your intention.
Yeah.
But the cool part about it is that was the effect, right? Like you were sending it like, damn, check out this video, you'll appreciate it, and excuse me, but I knew it wasn't your intention. But the effect was, oh my gosh! And so I took the liberty of like kind of diving into a little bit more about what that guy. I tried to find that like interview.
Yeah.
Couldn't really find it, but what I did find is like during the acquisition of X and how he's building SpaceX and Tesla. So what he does is very similar to what you and I do every day, which is he's on the ground with his staff. So when he comes into, say Tesla, for example, he comes in and he hits the manufacturing floor. Like he's talking to the people putting these things together, and he's going through the entire, and he's eye to eye with his workers, and he's present and he listens, and he's not texting, he's not on his phone, and he goes through. Then he deals with the ground floor first, which is the backbone of any company, right? Like which would be our agents, the real estate agents, and identifies all the conversation, has this person with him taking notes, etc. Then he goes to his leadership meeting. Then he goes to his executives. So he works his way from the ground up from how he does it. So he's like, for us, it would be mastermind with our agents, and we storyboard all of the problems, and then you go to leadership, discuss all the problems. Then like for us, it would end kind of at the leadership side of it. And then what we would do is we would identify the most crucial problem of everything from the ground floor. Here's what they gave us. Here's what we've identified as the most important problem that we need to solve right now. And it could be this week or this month. His is a month. So the guy's thing was he solves 52 problems per year per company. Massive problems. We don't have the problems that he probably has at SpaceX, right?
Yeah.
But we do have problems, right? Whether it be comp or sales or this or that, or the team meeting, this needs to change, whatever. We would then identify like, we could probably problem solve a lot faster because it's such a smaller organization. We
Yeah.
could really take action and move. But I really like that because it is that 1%
Yep.
better. So I think as we're talking through this, like our meetings will change. So anyone listening to this too, like if you're running your business, and even if you're running your business on a real estate agent level, what's your biggest problem? Identify that and just tackle that.
Yeah.
Right. And so for us, we were talking about all these things, and even that train of thought was what kind of led me into like, dude, right now your biggest problem is this $3 million deal that could snowball into 50 million.
Mm-hmm.
Tackle that first.
Yeah.
Blow that up. I'll help whatever I can do. And, maybe all I do is drive participation, and we do the broker open a little differently. And that was my input. That was what I did. And then you did everything else.
Sure.
And then it's like, boom, it pops off. We know it's going to move just because of the momentum you're bringing in.
Sure.
It's going to sell. Then this guy is like, take this one. And that $3 million focus turned into a $30 million opportunity.
Yeah.
And you 10x'd it
Yep.
overnight because we put hyper focus, solve that big problem. That's your biggest problem in your business life right now is this monster home in Franktown that needs to sell, and it will open up these other doors. It was literally that video that led to that conversation this morning. So I think, dude, it's so crazy because like you're talking about your hamstring. So to pivot for a minute, I threw my back out this morning. You've got a jacked up hamstring, and the whole 1% better theory is very relevant with this.
Totally.
Because I have completely neglected mobility for, I don't know, decades now, a couple, 20 years. Because when I got out of like any kind of sports, I was like, and to be just brutally honest, like vain. I don't want to spend an hour in the gym not focusing on my physique.
Yeah.
Or this or that or whatever, or staying lean or doing this. I feel like if I'm going to sit in a corner for an hour and do hip mobility and glute activation and flexibility, and no,
It's not sexy.
no,
Yeah.
it's just painful and boring, and but like maybe that's when we listen to our books. Maybe that's when. So there's so much more that you can get out of it, and that's the 1% better. The journey that I'm going to go on and commit to for the rest of the year. So like every Friday, that's all I'm going to do for an hour, for 90 minutes. Just weird little movements, glute activation, flexibility, and just get a little bit better every week with that. And by the end of the year, I've done this, 40 or 50 times. My hips should be aligned a little better, should be moving a little differently in 26, so.
I mean, going back to this 1% better topic, I think it really comes down to presence. When you're trying to go too fast, you're not present with what you're doing,
I would agree with that.
One thing I've learned from listening to our podcast is I'm not very present sometimes when I'm talking to you. I'm thinking about what I'm going to say next. I don't complete my thoughts fully. I kind of bounce around like a little squirrel brain, and it's made me presence has been a huge lesson in my life, and slowing down. Like for example, this morning I saw my neighbor's trash can was pulled over, but I was running late to a meeting, and I was like, no, this is a lesson right here. This is thrown into my, will I take this 30 seconds to hop out of my truck and go pull this garbage can up?
Did you do it?
I did. Will I take 30 seconds to slow down and read a text as opposed to skim reading it and miss
what
I was saying?
Worst at that.
Yeah. Will I just open this door for someone? Will I smile at this person? And I'm like, it almost makes me cry because it's like, how much of my life have I missed because I've been in a rush? And going back to the hamstring thing, I think injuries and sickness are a teacher for you if you're present to it. And the thing I've realized is like, what made me faster in my football career was when I actually started slowing down and I worked on my glute strength, glute activation, hip mobility, all the stuff you just talked about. And I got like 50% better. I went from like a 4.7 to like a 4.5 in the 40. Like that's a huge jump. When I shifted, not just lifted more, but got better at lifting more, if that makes sense. And I've neglected that as well. I don't do all that little stuff because I say I don't have enough time. But really, at the end of the day, everyone has 24 hours is what you do with it. And so it's like, am I present? So I've slowed down this week in the gym. I'm not just trying to bust out as much weight as possible, but like taking time to just...
You can throw around some weight too.
Totally. But I got way stronger when I did the little stuff. So it's like I've done it in my past. It's not about, it's being smarter, not harder, you know?
Yeah.
Train smarter, not harder. And so, man, it's like so many things. It's like, that's a lesson for business. How you do, we've talked about this all the time. How you do one thing, how you do anything. And I'm rushing around in a lot of my life. And it's like, dude, just slow down. My wife always gets on me. She's like, you don't listen. It's because my brain's in somewhere else. I'm saying, yeah, I hear you, but I'm actually not comprehending. Like, I hear you. I don't like reading. I shouldn't speak that. I've had a challenge with reading because I'll read a whole page and my brain's in a completely different place.
It's like melatonin. You're just falling asleep.
But it's like this like you got to slow down to speed up.
Yeah.
So that's the 1%. That's, I think, in our meetings, like, how do we, instead of just doing a meeting to do a meeting, how do we actually be productive? My biggest, we talked about changing the real estate industry. Like, I feel like I've been brought to this industry to do that in a lot of ways. And I can't stand when agents just say, I'm busy. Like, what does that mean, dude? You know, like, are you productive? Are you changing lives? Or are you just like making a bunch of calls and just punching the clock?
God, this industry, man, is the real estate business that we're in. And I went to the awards lunch yesterday. I don't know if I was talking to you about this. I did a little bit. I won't get into that whole story on here, but like, how do I tell this story without airing people out or saying anything bad? Well, I think what I noticed yesterday about that meeting was I see what Compass was doing. I appreciate what they do. We do awards too.
Sure.
Right. And it's important because you're around salespeople and they need affirmation, acknowledgement, and recognition.
They're little babies.
Right? They need it. They love it. And the participation wasn't nearly as high as it normally is. Right. So people are now being just the society. So one, the participation was lacking. So what I noticed is people are getting like oddly comfortable just canceling shit. Canceling everything, right? Like just for no reason. It mainly probably because they just don't want to go. They could make it work.
Sure.
They just didn't make it work. So like we're in a shoot you a text, cancel or no show. It is what it is. I was busy society. It's a weird thing.
Realtors are a fickle bunch too.
Fickle bunch. And so I noticed that. And then I noticed a bunch of just mediocre awards. Like, no, the number 11 small, medium-sized team of like, and I almost feel like the people getting the awards probably felt the same, right? Like, I would not want to be, for my name to be on a screen, to be number 11 on anything.
Participation trophy.
Right? You just kind of feel like you were, and I get it because they wanted participation. So it's interesting. So I'm watching all of this unfold, and I think about Isaac actually in this moment, right? And Isaac's my business partner, and you, great friend of yours and mine. If you really get to talk with Isaac, you're like, wow, this dude is
the Godfather.
Dude, I love him to death. And Isaac said, this business is a bunch of 1099 subcontracted human beings that had this notion of creating their own schedule, had this vision of this work-life balance. Let me ski, and I'll take a few phone calls on the lift and close a couple deals, get my Beamer, whatever, right? That's the facade in real estate. And what he has helped us create is that participation through coaches' corners, through team meetings and these things, getting people just to the office, even if there wasn't as much value as there could have been, everyone got up, got dressed, got to the office, that they wouldn't have done. They wouldn't have done those three things. So it accomplished three really difficult things that 90% of our industry just doesn't do. We're sitting in an empty office. There's a $60,000 a month nut in this place, and it's empty, right? So it's like, how do you drive participation? How do you do this? And we have, I think, starting to embark on this and just talking together and everything. It's just, You got to do it through care, through culture, getting 1% better every day, but really aligning yourself with people that you love and trust. Because, like you said, you don't, you say it all the time, like you don't want to do business with people that aren't like, I'd say don't want to do business with them, but just a level of respect changes when you know that they're not focused on their health or getting 1% better because they lack discipline or they're not working on themselves trying to get better. You're still going to work with them. You're still going to be friends and go, but there's just a mentality shift. Like we try to be as inclusive as we can, but man, you do want to be around the people that are leveling you up. I don't care where you are in business. You want to be around the people that are making you better all the time. I know I ranted a little bit right there because my head is everywhere with this meeting, but it's like, this is such a hard business.
Yeah.
Because all I want is for people to want what we want.
Well, it's a hard business because it's a direct reflection of who you are. Mm-hmm. That's what I've been talking about with the guys a lot is like your clients.
What do you mean by that?
So being an entrepreneur, you will earn in a direct proportion to how big you are as a person. I heard someone say once, show me the size of a problem that gets you down, I'll show you the size of the man. So if you've got $100 problem, you're pretty small. If you've got $100 million problem, you've grown, right? And so your earnings will be in a direct reflection of your personal development, of who you are as a person. So if you have a little, it's because you are a little. That's a tough truth to get. And once I finally looked at myself in the mirror, I'm not as good as I think I am. And I'm not as good as I think I am right now, dude.
Yeah, that's heavy.
But that's entrepreneurship. That's why I've always said it's one of the most spiritual things you can do. You remove the safety net of having a salary, but you also remove someone telling you how much you're worth. So there is no safety net, but there is no ceiling. And so you can make this whatever you want. And so if you're not getting what you want, it's because you got to become more. Be, do, have. Be a little, do a little, have a little. Be a lot, do a lot, have a lot. So it's just a very simple equation, but it's you got to be freaking brutally honest with yourself of all right, my world right now is small, so I must be small. If my world's expanding, it means I'm growing. And likewise, if you submit and you surrender to this process, the 1% better, you're going to grow. Mm-hmm. If you submit just to showing up to the gym, just instead of listening to, Jay-Z, listen to something that's going to grow your mind. And it starts to grow and it starts to grow. And then you look up and you're like, oh my gosh. I did this $4 million listing yesterday. And I was I walked out there, I was like, that was no different than doing a $600,000 listing. Yeah. I did the exact same process. The numbers just change.
Yeah.
But I've grown. So therefore it's it's easy now. Mm-hmm. And I'm this is almost getting too easy. What's next, And I'm not bragging at all. I'm humbled because I know that I'm bigger than I was a year ago or 5 years ago because I couldn't have done it then. Yeah. I didn't have the confidence. I didn't have the swagger. I didn't have the seed time and harvest. I didn't have the seeds in the ground, the reps that enable me to do something like that. And it's just well, what's next? There is no end to this journey.
No.
And it's I want to get to heaven one day and be well done, good and faithful servant.
Yeah.
I don't want to look back and be oh, I was scared what Alex thought about me, so I didn't go do this. Or whoever, some phantom person, some
yourself
perception of what social media is going to look at me like. Mm-hmm. It's just no, dude, just go for it. Just freaking go for it. Just keep going. Send it.
It's the hardest thing. What you just said, all of that is really powerful because that is, I believe in my heart, what every single man and woman wakes up with and battles with every single day. There's not one person, homeless, addict, even wealthy, right? Or someone striving to be child. I even as a little boy would think I can do more.
Yeah.
Right. And I think what very humbling and very cold realization is we all know without a doubt that we are here for a greater purpose. Mm-hmm. And we set all of those limits and those walls and those boundaries.
No doubt.
And that's a very, very hard realization to come and go, I know I'm meant for more. and you feel disappointed and you fall into a depression. You do. Be like, how am I going to get there? What am I going to do? And that's a constant battle for me. I wake up every single morning knowing that I'm put on this earth for more, to do more. And you and I have found, and it's starting to unlock, that the way to do this and achieve this is through giving, through serving, right? And that's very hard because you can keep earning, and then all of a sudden you get to this point where it's not as sexy. The $4 million becomes I do this. This is what I do.
Yeah.
Not who you are. This is what I do now. I get $4 million deals like that, and I make 80 grand, 120 grand every time I close one. I'm making $1 million plus a year, a couple million a year, 3 million a year.
Yeah.
But what are you doing? Because then there'll be something that happens then that just you still don't feel fulfilled. You might be in your big fancy house or your investment property in Aspen or Cabo or wherever.
Yeah.
But there's something still missing from you, where no matter what money you have, no matter what savings accounts you have, even if you've given money to your kids or whatever, there's still going to be this emptiness in your heart and soul that you were put here way more than just to make a bunch of money for you and a very small group of people, like your immediate family or whatever it is. Or some don't even do that, I don't think, you know? So I think my heart is in this place of, how do we create this community of getting people to where they want to be and showing them what's possible? How do you do that? Because you and I are the coaches in us. You want to just cut players. You're not running fast enough. You can't play. Sit down.
Yeah.
You go on. Jerry, you're on. Why? Because you're faster. He doesn't want to play. And so I've tried to okay, how do you coach, but without that hardcore cutting mentality? How do we get everyone there? And the sad truth is you'll never get everyone there. But let's get as many as we can. Let's try to help as many of these young aspiring realtors be better versions of themselves every single day. And I promise you and I will be in a different place one day talking about this, and the legacy that you pass on is very powerful. And that's why even with this Broker Open, we changed the mentality and message there. And the messages in our meetings need to change. And I just feel like that's the path. The path is, let's just it's give 1% more. It's work out 1% more, read 1% more. It's just and it starts to compound.
Yeah.
And it'll compound very quickly, especially when you're pursuing your faith, yourself, and then giving whenever you can. Of course, there's business and BS that you're going to have to go through for work, but that's kind of where I'm at with everything, is how do we figure all this out? And that's why I love being around you and all the people that we're around, because I think we're going to need help, and we're going to need help doing this. We're going to need other smarter people in the room that know this more than us, or that can get that done maybe better or faster. You know,
a wise person once said, if your vision only requires you, it's not big enough. And you're making me think about B, right? Shout out to Pete. He went down this bunny trail with me of the be do have, being more, and it was hitting me when you were talking of be humble. Being humble is a state of being, right? You can't just put that on one day. If humility is put on you, it's humiliation, right? But when you're humble, it's not lacking confidence.
No.
It's Alex, hey, what do you think about this?
Yeah.
Or was my thought process right? Hey, how would you say this? Or what do you think of this idea? Knowing that you need others, but ultimately letting the creator work through you, which is the ultimate being, right? A human being, be more.
Yeah. It's
just, I got to be more present, right? And so that's probably another topic for another day. Yeah. Maybe we have to put that one on the shelf for now.
Man.
But, man, this is good.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
it is.
This will be fun to look back on,
some good messaging.
A year from now, 2 years from now.
Yeah.
See how far we've come.
See where we went from
because
here.
It's 1%.
Yeah. We'll keep talking about that too, just along the journey, you know, to know that we actually live this. We don't just talk about it.
No doubt. But in light of this, giving you guys listening to this or watching this an action step to take away, it's do 1%.
Yep.
commit to 1%. It's
Little
not
bit.
going to the gym 6 days a week. It's going one day.
Yep.
Or maybe it's going for a walk.
Yep.
Or doing the small thing, the not sexy thing that gets the ball moving. An object of motion stays in motion.
Yep.
An object of rest stays at rest.
That's right, man. That's right. Amen.
This is episode 21, 1% better. Peace.